What's up everyone, my name is Abby, I like to read, and today I'm going to be talking about my favorite books of all time. So I was trying to figure out what video to make today because I washed my hair, which is a rare occasion, so I was like, I might as well make use of the fresh hair and make a video. And then I realized that I've never made a video where I talk about my favorite series and favorite books. So I figured I would do that. Now, some of my choices might seem a little weird because I read a whole bunch in middle school and high school. That was when I came home from school, I read all evening, I ate dinner, I read all night, and that was just my life, school and then reading. And then when I graduated in 2016 and went to college, I got really busy and I stopped reading. And I didn't start reading again consistently until January of this year. And so, all of my memories of my favorite books are of like 4 years ago, in 2016, when I was in high school. And so some of these are probably, some of them may have not aged well, and if I read them again, they probably wouldn't be my favorite books. But when I go through my Goodreads list and I think, what are my favorite books? These are the books that come to mind. So please don't judge me. And you know what? I shouldn't even have to justify why I like some of these books, because we can like whatever we want, okay? Oh my goodness. But yeah, some of these books, I feel like if I read them today, they would not be on my favorites list. But right now, I look back at them with fond memories. So, let's get started. So I'm going to start with the full series first. And then I'm going to go to the books that maybe the series hasn't been completed yet, but I can already tell that it's going to be my favorites just because the first and second books are like on my favorites list already. So the first series should not come as a surprise if you've watched my other videos. It is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I feel like as of right now, this is probably still my all-time favorite series. I don't think anything really has passed it recently, but I also haven't read a lot of completed series since I started reading again. And so this one just kind of stays in my mind. But I think a lot of it is the time in my life when I read this series. I was in high school. I think when did this come out? I have the first edition, so I feel like I read it pretty soon after it came out. It came out in 2012. So maybe I read it in 2013 or 2014. But I am really glad now that I have the first edition because it's kind of like a rare thing now, so that's kind of cool. But I just love Aelin as a character. Honestly, my favorite thing is when there's a crisis and they're like, what do we do? And Aelin's like, I already got a plan. I had this plan in motion for like 3 months already, and then she like solves it because she like already knew. And I love her unexpected plans. And yeah, I think she's a really cool character. I'm actually doing a reread of this series, which is kind of scary because I'm scared it's not gonna hold up as well as when I read it when I was in high school. But we'll see. So I've started with Assassin's Blade, so I'm currently reading that one. So that is what this one looks like. And I'm enjoying it so far. That one was never my favorite. I'm not a huge short story person. I like longer stories, and I feel like short stories, they're just missing a lot of things because, you know, they're short, so you can't really develop a story as much. So I'm really excited to finish that one and then start Throne of Glass again. You probably already know what this series is, but in case you don't, I'll show you all the books. So the second one is Crown of Midnight. The third book is Heir of Fire. I remember I was actually learning to drive when I read this book, and I remember having to leave this book to go have a driving lesson with my dad, and I remember being very upset and I just wanted to do my driving lesson and then come home really quickly so that I could finish this book because it was amazing. The fourth book is Queen of Shadows. I do love this cover. I'm not normally a pink person, but I kind of like pink when it also has a badass character with it. The 5th and 6th books are Empire of Storms and Kingdom of Ash. And these books I actually read, I think, the end of last year. So I guess I did start reading, like, November, December. But I actually listened to these on audiobooks because I had tried starting this book so many times, and I just couldn't really get into it because I was so busy and I didn't have the time. And I pre-ordered this when it was coming out, so I got it when it came out, but I was just so busy, I just couldn't find the time to sit down and read it. So I finally ended up, like, 2 years later, listening to these on audiobook, and I really enjoy the audiobooks. I like this series, guys. I really like it. I also have the special edition of Throne of Glass, which I am really happy about. It's so pretty, and it smells really good. So, my next favorite series that I read when I was younger, I think I was actually more middle school for this one. Let me see when this came out. 2012. No, 2010. I don't know. I think I was maybe late middle school, early high school when I read these. So this series is about a girl named Violet who finds out that she is a Grigori, which is half angel. And there is another Grigori named Lincoln. He was one of my fictional crushes. And this series is really good. I often find myself going back and reading my favorite parts. I feel like I should tab this series so I can find my favorite parts more easily. But yeah, I really enjoyed this series. It is your, like, typical YA. There's kind of a love triangle in the first book, but I'm only tolerating it because it got resolved pretty quickly. So that was good. I love all the side characters in this book. They all kind of get their own backstory, and we learn about them, and we learn to love them. And yeah, I really enjoyed this series. It was one of those series where I look forward to whenever the next book came out in the series, and I like have it on my calendar and be like, this book is coming out today, I gotta go to Barnes & Noble. So yeah, I definitely have a lot of fond memories with these books. So the first one is Embrace. The second book is Entice. The third book is Emblaze. The fourth book is Endless. And the fifth book is Empower. This series is definitely, like, kind of has the trope of the chosen one, or, like, girl who is different from everyone else. But, I mean, I kind of like that trope. I don't know. I feel like it's cool to read about someone who has, like, a special ability that no one else has. I think it's cool. Okay, so, speaking of middle school, high school favorites, I feel like I should put, like, an honorable mention, and this is gonna be like, oh my gosh, Abby, you have this on your favorites list? What are you doing? But, once again, my reading library consists of books from 2012 to 2016, so these are the books that I loved during those times. So I don't consider this to be on my favorites list, but like I said, it's an honorable mention because it definitely used to be my favorite series, and that is the Divergent series by Veronica Roth. I loved this series so much. This first book was definitely my favorite. I definitely fangirled over this book with my friends in middle school. We had a huge crush on Theo James. Yeah, 4 was just everything to us. And am I a little upset that we'll never complete the movies? Yeah, I am. I think that's a shame that they decided to split the third book into 2 movies. The third book, okay, so this is the second book, Insurgent, in case you don't know. And the third book, so this was my least favorite book. I thought it was a stupid ending. I didn't enjoy it. But also, not much happened in this book. It was pretty boring. So I don't understand why they would be like, you know what, let's split this book that already doesn't have a lot of stuff in it into 2 movies. Like, what were they thinking? So yeah, I think this last book kind of dropped this series off of my favorites list because I did not enjoy it. But, you know, if we just went by the first book, I think I just have so many memories of this book with like my friends and like going to see the movies with them. Yeah, it's kind of like my Twilight. I never read Twilight. I wasn't allowed to. I was from one of those families where you can't read Twilight, you can't read Harry Potter. But I could read Divergent, and this is my Twilight basically. Oh, and then there's this book, Four, which is like a collection of short stories in Four's point of view. I don't remember anything about this book, so must have not made a good impression. So my next series actually isn't completed, but I think there's already 9 books out, so it's very long. So I think it's like well established to the point where I can call it one of my favorite series, and that is the Crossbreed series by Danica Dark. I listen to these books on audiobook. I've talked about it before, how I love Nicole Poole and Danica Dark working together. Danica Dark's books with Nicole Poole's voice narration. I think it's an amazing combination. And I've talked about this series before. I really love the series. I'm not going to go through all the names because I don't really remember them. I know the previous one that just came out is Heartless. And I gave this book 10 out of 10 stars. And I just love this series so much. This is actually a kind of spin-off series from her Marjorie series. It follows one of the characters from that books. But you really don't need to read that series to read this one. There are cool little crossovers from that series, so if you did read the other series first, it would kind of like be like, oh, there's that character, so it'd be kind of cool. But it is not necessary, and I think I like this series more than the Marjorie series. I think it's a style of book where this girl, I don't want to explain too much about it. Basically, she is brought into this group where they are a bunch of supernatural beings that are solving mysteries and crimes. So each book kind of centers around a new case for them, which I kind of like that structure, where each book is like a plot in itself, but there is like an overarching story throughout the whole series. And I love that style. I love the characters so much. Once again, these characters are so amazing. I love all of their backstories. I love the relationships between all the characters. And this series, it never disappoints me. I love each and every book. Once again, we're on book 9, and I still love the series just as much as when there was only one book out. So this is definitely on my list, and we have confirmation that there will be more books. So I'm super excited about that. So as you can see here, my phone fell off the tripod, and don't look at my messy room, don't look at it. But yeah, so the audio like unplugged from the thing, so the audio is going to be really bad from now on, so I am sorry that it changes halfway through this video, but you know, stuff happens. So my final favorite completed series is the Percy Jackson series. This is once again kind of like based on memories of when I read it when I was younger. I love this series so much. I'm gonna reread this soon, and I am so excited to mess these books up and tab them and underline things and really get into it. So the first book is Percy Jackson and the Olympians and the Lightning Thief. The second book is The Sea of Monsters. The third book is The Titan's Curse. The fourth book is The Battle of the Labyrinth. And the fifth and final book is The Last Olympian. I also have all of these books in the first editions, so with these covers, which I think is super cool. These were actually my brother's, and then he let me have them, and they're old and they're all first editions. But what really annoys me is that I have the first 2 books and the 4th book in paperback, and then the 3rd and 5th book in hardback. I don't know why that happened. But I always gonna keep these and treasure them, and I'm also excited to have the new covers because they are super cool. So if you haven't read the series, it is middle grade, and it's amazing. It is based on Greek mythology, and it's about a boy who finds out that he is a demigod, and he goes to a camp where he learns about it, and stuff happens. It's really good. And there's also a spin-off series called what is the series called? The Heroes of Olympus. I've read the first 3 of those, but I never finished it. So after I reread this series, I am going to go back and read the other one. I love Rick Riordan. I'm currently rereading his Egyptian series, The King Chronicles. And that one's not on my favorite list, but I am kind of enjoying it. But yes, this series, it's amazing. Please go read it if you haven't. And we're not even going to discuss the movies because those aren't a thing. But there's a new TV series coming out soon. I just dropped the book. So we'll see if that's any good. Rick Riordan is actually a big part of those from what I've gathered on his Twitter. So maybe they'll be good. These next books are series that aren't completely concluded, but I really loved them. So I'm going to have them on my list anyways because I feel like they will be my favorites once they are completed. The first one is Crescent City, or House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I really loved this book. It is big and it can be slow at sometimes, but I love the story. I love Hunt and Bryce and their story. This book was so emotional and heavy at times, but I think that it was just an amazing story, and I'm so excited for book 2, which I feel like is either gonna be late next year or 2022, because I know that the next Ekatar book is coming out, I think January or February of 2021, which is still exciting. Even though that series isn't on my favorites list, I'm still very excited about it. But this book, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for the next one. The next book is actually on my list because it very much reminded me of the older YA books. And this kind of, they can be like cheesy, overused tropes, but I don't mind a little tropiness, as long as it's not like disgustingly cheesy. But this book is Shielded by Caitlin Flanders. I read the arc early July and I just flew through this book. I really enjoyed it. I loved the main character, Jenna. I really liked the love interest, actually. I thought he was a really cool character. And honestly, it did remind me a little bit of Throne of Glass, just kind of like the badassness of her. But I am really excited to read the next book and find out more about the magic in the book. And I don't know, it just gave me kind of like nostalgic feelings of like YA books that I read, like YA fantasy in particular that I read when I was in high school. So I really enjoyed it, and I put it on my favorites list, even though it's only one book. And then the last books that are on my current list of favorites are Aurora Rising and Aurora Burning. I read these recently, I think last month in August, or maybe July and August, and I love these books so much. Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, when they write books, they just make masterpieces. What really like drove me to like these books was definitely the characters. This is a character-driven series. Once again, you have like a crew of people, and I just, there's something about like a crew or like a team of people and like them working together to like solve a crime or solve a mystery or like pilot a spaceship. And I love having the multi-point of view of all the different characters and learning more about them. And these books like destroyed me, definitely, but I'm so excited to read the third one. I think it might be the last one. I don't know. I feel like it might be a trilogy, but I mean, if it got more, I would not complain. But these are definitely on my favorites. So that is it for my current list of favorites. I'm really interested to see how this list changes as I read more books and complete more series, because I do feel like some of the series that I'm reading right now, if they get better and better with each book, I feel like I'll definitely like add them onto my favorites list. And so I know I just wanted to make this video so I could kind of look back, like next year I'll probably make another one and see if my list has changed any. So I find that really interesting, just kind of seeing how my reading taste changes over time. Because definitely what I'm reading now, I probably wouldn't have liked like 10 years ago. Just obviously I was younger. I couldn't have like read the more in-depth fantasies. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a big old thumbs up. Comment down below, what is your all-time favorite series? Because I want more recommendations, because I want to read more. Even though this whole shelf is a TBR shelf, so I probably don't need to be buying more books. But that's not going to stop me from buying more books. Subscribe if you want to see more content, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys. This is the Violet What is it? I don't even know the name of my favorite series. I don't even know.